So again, we're looking at systems of inequalities, and in this exercise, we're going to see an example of when two inequalities don't have, or a system of inequalities doesn't have a solution. When we have parallel lines and the shading is on opposite sides of those parallel lines instead of in between them, then there's not going to be a solution because there's no intersection of those shaded regions. So again, in your online lesson, in the example that you've seen, they just graph the intercepts. I like to graph 3 points, so I go ahead and put it in slope-intercept form. I've done that with our first inequality. 3x minus 2y is greater than or equal to 12. That gives us negative 2y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 12. And we subtract 3x from both sides and then divide both sides by negative 2. Remember, since we're dividing both sides of the inequality by a negative value, that means we have to switch the direction. So y is less than or equal to 3/2 x minus 6. So let's graph 3 points. At 0, it's going to be negative 6. At 4, it's going to be 0. And let's go with negative 2. That's going to give us negative 6 minus 6. Or excuse me, negative 3 minus 6, which is going to be negative 9. So negative 2. Negative 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The inequality is inclusive, so we're going to include that equals, which means we make the line a solid line and not dashed. And then we need to test a point. I'm going to test 0, 0. So 3 times 0 minus 2 times 0. Is that greater than or equal to 12? It is not. That is a false statement because 0 is not greater than or equal to 12. So we're going to shade on the opposite side of the line as to where 0, 0 is. So here's our first inequality graphed. And now we'll move on to the second inequality. So y is greater than or equal to 3/2 x plus 1. And again, we're going to graph y equals 3/2 x plus 1. It's going to be a solid line because it includes the equals. So at 0, x equals 0, y is going to be 1. At x equals 2, y is going to be 4. At x equals negative 2, we're going to have negative 3 plus 1, which is going to be negative 2. So negative 2, negative 2. And again, we connect the dots to draw the line. And once again, we will test the point 0, 0. So at 0, 0, we have is 0 greater than or equal to 3/2 times 0 plus 1. So is 0 greater than or equal to 1? That is false. So we know we shade on the opposite side of the line is 0, 0. So over here on the left. And then again, typically when we're graphing inequalities, a system of inequalities to find the solution to the system, the solution is where the shaded portions overlap. Well, in this case, they don't overlap because with our second inequality, it's over here to the left or above. And with our first inequality, it's to the right or below. And therefore, with this particular system of equations, there is no solution.